No.
Really?
There's some lake effect where if you're by the lake, it
Yeah.
never got cold enough.
Yeah. Because we got freezing rain. Look, I just looked outside. I was in a huge, the worst part of the storm, walking up to Bill King's place to do his radio thing.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God. And he doesn't pay me or anything like that. But, he'll get tickets to Raptors or stuff like that. So yeah, and it's not far away. It's a good walk too, right? It's a nice walk. But yesterday it was ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God, I should get a cab or an Uber or I don't know, something. And, it was just like nuts.
For a lot of people, I was chatting with Jason Portwando and he said it was like a snowstorm. And I'm like, oh, like it all depended where you were in the GTA. Like it was a different story depending where you were.
Oh, where is my, excuse me, I have to find my, damn it, my script. Why does it go away?
I have it if you don't have it.
No, I have it. I'm trying to find it up here on my, it always goes away on me. So I have to go find it again. I have to go to Google.
Oh yeah. It goes in the background.
It goes in the background and then I just can't find it. Okay. So Google.
Okay. In the meantime, I've sent the tweet. So when you
meantime, people are bored. Like, what is it? What am I watching here?
Oh man. And what
is this I'm watching?
Watching us get ready to record.
Script. What the hell is going on here? I found it. It's the weather. It's everything. I don't know. You know what? I've just been thinking this time of the year too. There's just so much at the end. I'm like, I have to watch this game. The World Cup Sunday. I got to watch that. Yeah. The next Leaf game, Raptor game. I was at the Raptors game this week. There was football to watch. I got the Bills game. There's just so much. And before I used to love it. The more the merrier. I would make excuses, all times, especially during the holidays. Like, I got to watch this game. It's my job. And everyone, okay, he's got to watch the game. He has to comment on it. Now it's overwhelming. It's like, oh, man. And I'm only doing this once a week. I'm like, there's so much to talk about.
It's a job.
That check the other day by Ryan Reaves was hot for a day or two. And I was hot at the time. And I was like, well, I got to wait till Friday to, I got to put this on the back burner and then kind of bring it back up again. And that story that happened, like when the Jays signed, Bassitt, well, that was like 6 days ago now.
Yeah, right.
But I can't imagine talking about this stuff every day.
Right.
I even see the tweets for it. I get tired. Oh, wow, it's examething to go through. Well,
like anything else, you'll do a lot of stuff for money, like for I guess
to make a living. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure I'm not the first person. Geez, back in my day, was I doing anything that I guess it was. Listen, this is what you do. There was no social media, so there was not. There are only so many other ways to earn a living, right? But it just seems now it's kind of gone the other way. You look at certain people and go, really, am I going to remember that person as a shill for a gambling company, or am I going to remember that person for being whatever their profession was? Like if they were a journalist or a pseudo journalist, or they were highly regarded as some type of personality. Journalist, anchor, reporter, whatever, media person. And now, forget it. Those people are like long forgotten because it's run its course. It's not the same anymore. No matter how we try to think that radio is going to be the way it's going to be, television it's not. It's just not going the other way. My kids are in their 20s and 30s. They don't watch local television. They couldn't tell you about their local TV personalities, radio personalities. They just don't. And they haven't for years and they never will.
On that note, my friend, don't forget to tweet. Don't forget to retweet the tweet. I know you're on a roll, but I will. Dale
Cadeau not on a roll. No, just
Dale Cadeau wants you to know it's sunny where he is. So screw you, Dale. We don't need you.
Thanks for that, Dale. Appreciate that. Thanks for that.
Also, a special hello to Angela, who was chimed in first. Good morning, boys. And we got a heart.
Nice.
Love that energy.
I'm just redoing your. Get to the show here already. In a pinch, when someone says, "I need a line," come up with a line. Come on,
right.
I got to come up with a line here. I got something clever and something witty, and I don't have it.
You got nothing, man.
Not right there. I will maybe later.
So I know he also joked, Dale, that it's like the Weather Channel, but is it slushy and icy right now outside your door? Like, is you got an icy thing going on out there?
Me, I wouldn't know, man. I wouldn't know. I went through, I walked, I don't know, a couple of miles each way. So about 4 miles. Yeah, about 4 miles. Oh, sorry, Mike. About 7 kilometers.
Yeah, I know what 7 kilometers is. Yeah.
Okay. So about 7 kilometers back forth to Bill King's place. I do a radio show with Bill. We tape it on Thursdays, and then he airs it on Saturdays on his show on the University of Toronto radio station, CIUT.
Right.
I've never listened before. I don't frankly have a radio. I would know how to get it, but I don't tune in radio that I don't, right. I don't consume audio that way. Right. But anyway, the old way, right? You can tape something, you talk about stuff, you put it in your show. He's got a nice show on Saturdays.
Sure.
And so I walk there. I go for it's a nice walk, right? Well, yesterday, it's monsoon. Yeah, I don't know about where you were.
Yeah, it rained all day.
Driving. And I don't have an umbrella, and I don't even have a hood on my coat. I've got my big winter jacket because it's
no
cold
umbrella.
No. And I got a toque, right? I've got my Buffalo Bills toque, and I'm good. And I wear glasses, and after about 5 minutes, the glasses are, they're soaked, right? I can't see through the drops. I'm thinking, I got to do this, right? So by the time I get to this place, I'm soaked. I am soaked completely. And I go and I do about 15 minutes down in the basement. He's got a studio, and I studio down there. Cool. And then back on with the coat, which is soaked, and the toque, which is soaked, and listening to my podcasts or whatever, music, and walk home. Right. And I'm telling you, Mike, it was like people are looking at me like, are you mad? Are you out of your mind?
Right.
He's got, they've got the umbrellas, full rain. Everyone's got hoodies on, whatever. Who's this yutz? Walking around with just a toque, and I got home.
It must have been drenched.
I was soaked to the bone.
Who wears a toque in the rain?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I know it's raining.
I would just my
head didn't get wet, but the toque got wet.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So by the time I got home, right, and there was no freezing rain. This was just hard rain.
Yeah, rain.
By the time I got home, I looked outside. There was some freezing rain, and then more freezing rain. And I just said, I'm not going back outside again. So whatever I had in the house, I hadn't gone shopping. I whipped up, there's 3 eggs. Oh, I could do something. Oh, there's some cheese over there. I could do something like that. Oh, there's stale bread. Oh, I could. I got some zucchini over there. I go, oh, look at that. Pea pods. So I made a melange of whatever I had in the house. The last drop of margarine, everything else, and then I was good. Good.
It's good.
Okay, let's start the show because I've just been going on about ridiculous things here. Okay,
let's go. Hello to Moose Grumpy and Brian Gerstein. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Start with your theme. Here we go.
All right. Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Hebsy on Sports, episode 313 on a rainy Friday morning in Little Italy. I'm Mark Hebsher, along with Toronto Mike, he's New Toronto Mike, because that's where he lives, in New Toronto, which is it's not near Little Italy. Little Italy is in the middle of Toronto. So let's not get confused. Mike's not really a Toronto Mike. He's an Etobicoke and a New Toronto and Mimico, Long Branch, extreme west Etobicoke Mike.
But Mega City, buddy. Mega City.
I know. He's GTA Mike. No, but that's somebody else, actually. I'm sorry to say we're in mourning today. Again, it's terrible. The streak is over. Mitch Marner. It's all over. All that hype, all that excitement, done. And the Leafs, their streak is over as well. Well, you got to lose sometimes, I guess. I guess it's time to start a new streak. We'll talk about the Leafs. We'll talk about the Raptors, who are they're going down a rabbit hole, and they're going down fast. 3 ugly losses this week, and Pascal Siakam with a brain cramp. Can he not count? Need a 3-pointer. Why are you laying the ball in with 2 seconds to go? A layup's only worth 2 points. We'll talk about that. What's going to happen against Brooklyn tonight? Fuck Brooklyn. The Blue Jays made a couple of moves this week, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And with all due respect to Kevin Kiermaier, he's going to be your starting center fielder every day? Really? No. And also Chris Bassitt, who is the slowest pitcher in all of baseball. He's really slow. Really, really slow. You want to speed up the game next year? 15 seconds between pitches. I don't know. This guy, I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it. Hey, what's with all these changes to trophy names in sports? We had to get rid of that fucking bigot. and changed the name of his awards. I don't even know what it's called now. It doesn't matter. But the NBA has renamed a bunch of their awards after great players, a bunch of them. Should the NHL do the same? Would a Wayne Gretzky trophy be appropriate for the National Hockey League? What about a Bobby Orr trophy for best defenseman? Just spitballing here. You let me know what you think about that. Also, we got the World Cup on Sunday, France versus Argentina. We'll get into that as well. First, let's say hi to an ailing Toronto Mike.
No longer ailing
Toronto
here.
Mike.
I feel
no longer ailing?
No, I feel pretty good.
Do you want to tell people what you were?
Sure.
What was wrong?
So last Friday, if you listen to Hebsy on Sports, I sounded terrible. Man, did I mean, worse than normal. I might sound terrible on a good day, but
no, you don't. No, your voice was obviously you were struggling.
Right. And I didn't feel well. And then right after the show, I did a rapid test, and my first ever positive diagnosis of the COVID-19 pandemic. It finally hit me, Hebsy. I had it.
And where do you think you picked this up?
I'm almost certain I picked it up at Lee's Palace when I saw Lowest of the Low, because of the 6 of us who kind of were chatting together in a group, 4 of us came down with COVID. So I've decided that was the source.
Interesting. And how many people were at Lee's Palace that night, do you think?
I don't know. What does that place hold?
400?
Yeah, there was like 400, 500 people.
500?
It was a full show.
I've been in there where there's where the fire marshal would have had a heart attack if he would have seen it. I want to tell you, in the middle of the summertime.
I like that venue though. I like those.
That's a good venue. Yeah. Well, it's right near me too. It's right nearby. Right. So you figure you got it there. So meanwhile, I'm at the Scotiabank Arena with 19,500 unmasked people the other night, and I'm not the only one, obviously, and so. It's weird, man, because I've already gotten some comments from people saying, "Oh my God, Mark, you're in a public venue and you're not masked. Like, I feel for you. Be safe out there." Right. And I be honestly, when I go on the TTC, I do put the mask on. Close quarters, that kind of thing. But yeah, man, not what I think. If I would have seen someone with a mask on at the Scotiabank Arena, I would have what's going on there? Let's go. What's happening?
Lots flying around right now, so a lot of people are battling with worse. And I will say, some people who got the flu were knocked down a lot harder than I was with this COVID. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Now, when the flu arrives, does it go, "Hi, I'm not COVID, I'm just the regular flu"?
Yes, it does.
Are we supposed to remember what is the regular? What are the symptoms of the regular flu versus the? I got a sore throat. Well, I can't be the flu then, because you don't got my mom used to. My God rest her soul. My mom. She used to say to me, she said, "Well, what is it? What do you have?" I said, "Well, I don't know." She's like, "Was it the flu? Is it the grip? Is it a cold? Is it a fever? Is it I don't know. It comes with a label. You feel like shit."
Yeah, you feel like shit.
Right? I need to know what exactly, are we specifically, then you would go and see all the different types of medication. This is for the croup. This is for the grip. This is I didn't even know what the grip was.
Grip.
This is for a high fever. This is for a low fever. This is for during the day. This is for during the, and it's mind boggling when you look for. And I don't know what to get. I close my eyes and just grab one. 12-hour Advil. Yeah, it looks pretty good. You can sleep with that.
So here I am, as you know, pushing 50, and I'm still, the only illness I really don't want is the one where I'm going to be sick, like I'm nauseous. But if I'm not nauseous, I actually whatever, I'll deal with it. It'll go away. And this had no nausea with it, so I'm fine with it. It came, it went, no nausea. It's a success story for me.
Right. I'm healthy, knock wood.
Okay, I'm knocking all my wood, Hebsy. Let's go. Where do you begin? Lots going on.
Where do I begin? You're asking where I begin? The most recent thing, like the Leafs played last night. I know it's the middle of the season. Not even Christmas. What do I say? The middle of the season. But, these guys are in your face all the time. You can't ignore the Maple Leafs. No. And of course, they had a 15-game point streak, and Mitch Marner had a 23-game consecutive point streak. And it was 23 games. He's this. And then there's, of course, you got all the sports shows, you got all the, everything. People got to come up with the stats that are relevant. In the last 30 years, let's just pick 30 years. It's the third longest or fourth longest streak. Great. But I need context. I need to know if these players who had these long streaks, how did they do at the end of the season? Did their teams win the Stanley Cup? Did they go far in the playoffs? Did this consecutive game point streak really have anything to do with the overall success of the team that year? And in all cases, it's no. It's not. It just isn't. when Pete Rose had his 44-game hitting streak, the Reds didn't win. They didn't win the World Series. They didn't win the pennant. But he had a 44-game during that season. So that's great. So these individual things are all nice while they're going on. But at the end of the season, nobody's going to go, well, Leafs got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. But hey, that Mitch Marner 23-game consecutive point streak, wasn't that something? Remember that? No, we don't remember that. We're not going to remember that until the archive people come out and say, yeah, back then we were all excited about Mitch. But no, we weren't. I wasn't. Were you, Mike?
No, I mean, this is a welcome distraction, I guess. And you're in November, December,
right.
What are you going to do with regular season hockey? At least you have this to watch.
Anyway, there's this guy named Igor Shesterkin who's like, fuck Marner. That with Marner. And I'm sure the Rangers were like, hey, did you hear? Marner's got this. We're going to end Marner's streak. We're going to stop all that talk. Anyway, it was Shesterkin tending the twine for the Broadway Blue Shirts last night, kicked out 22 shots, kick saving a beauty, and one near the end there where Marner had like it was a breakaway, basically. It was. And the puck sort of for a split second was like lying in front of the goal line there. And you thought maybe it'll roll in, but no. Rangers won it 3-1. Jimmy Vesey, the former Leaf. And again, I had to remind myself, Jimmy Vesey played for the Leafs? Really? Don't remember. Had 2 goals, including the empty net clincher. Michael Bunting had the only Leaf goal. Marner was shut out. So the streak's over, even though that glorious chance, but Shesterkin with the save. Even with the loss, the Maple Leafs, a solid second. They played a good game. Mike, this is an exciting team to watch. They're never out of it. There's always chances at both ends. Like, it's wide open, it seems to me, these Leaf games, and pretty exciting hockey. It's not dump and chase hockey. I like watching them play. So they're solid second place in the Atlantic. They're 4 back of Boston, 5 up on Tampa. The Leafs have a plus 28 goal differential. And they're doing this without Morgan Riley, without Jake Muzzin. Timothy Liljegren, how do you pronounce that? Has an upper body injury. He's day-to-day, but of course, we're all day-to-day. And tomorrow the Leafs are in Washington to play the Capitals and Alex Ovechkin. I don't know about you, but I'm not excited about Alex Ovechkin, who's looking to tie Gordie Howe's mark of 801 NHL goals. Now, I know it's going to be a big deal in Washington, going to be a big deal for Putin, his buddy. But the NHL doesn't count professional goals from the WHA. And Gordie Howe scored 174 of them. So he's at 975, Gordie Howe. So even if you said, let's count half of your goals in the WHA, let's just say half. He hasn't reached Howe yet. He hasn't. And he's still Ovechkin. He's a Russian and he's a Putin supporter. He supports the Putin regime. So it's distasteful to me. So I don't want to talk about that. I don't give a shit. And
that's disappointing, though. I mean, we can't, this would have been an interesting story, except that it's tough to root for this guy considering that support.
Yep, exactly. It's tough to root for him. I don't root for him. I don't want him to do it.
I root against him.
I want him to break his ankle and not ever, reach the record. Like to see Jaromir Jagr come back to the NHL and break the record. Not him.
He's still playing. He signed up for another season. I know. Was
I born yesterday, Mike? I know he's still playing. He's the coach at Kladno. Has been for years. He owns the team, as a matter of fact. He coaches them and owns the team and plays sometimes. That's him.
He hadn't played in a while.
Great guy. I could tell you stories about him, man. Anyway, I want someone to explain to me why there is no NHL award named after Gordie Howe. Or never mind, how about Wayne Gretzky? Like, how could you not have it? No offense to the Rocket Richard Award, which was given out while Gretzky was still playing, but Gretzky had already set the records, I think, by then, or was on his way to it. But the NHL decided, let's give out an award to the guy who gets the most goals in the season, right? There was no award at all. There wasn't anything like, there's the Art Ross trophy for the scoring leader. That's goals and assists. Art Ross, of course, never fucking played. I mean, he might have played a couple of games. He was like an owner. He donated the trophy.
Okay.
Hi, I own the Boston Bruins. I want to name a trophy, and we're going to give it every year to the top scorer. Okay. That's why it's the Art Ross trophy. Not because Art Ross was a great scorer. It makes no sense. None. So, that should be the Gretzky trophy right there. And if you want for goals, fine, make this, the one for most goals instead of it being the Rocket Richard. It was nice gesture, but Rocket Richard only scored 50. Like Gretzky had 92. Fucking Bernie Nichols had the 70s. Howe had over 800 just in the NHL. Make it the Gordie Howe Award. You're not going to get any argument, but you can't do it now because it's the Rocket Richard Award.
Can't do it now.
There's got to be a Gretzky Award. What about a Bobby Orr Award? No offense to James freaking Norris, okay, who apparently was not the nicest guy in the world anyway. And again, it was like he was an owner. He never played. Okay. Make it Bobby Orr. Will anyone have a problem with that? No. I just won the Bobby Orr Trophy. The Lady Bing. It was donated. Here's a trophy. Like the Stanley Cup was donated. Anyway. It's my trophy, but wait a second. He apparently said some racist things, and this in of itself is enough to put question into why is it called that? Why do we call it that? Why can't we call it something else? And the reason I mention this is the NBA just renamed a bunch of awards. Instead of just the Defensive Player of the Year, they got, they already had the Bill Russell Award, which is for the playoff MVP, because Bill Russell won 13 NBA titles. But now the league has decided, let's add the personality to the trophies, the presentations and all that. So naturally you've got the regular season MVP award goes to Michael Jordan. It's called the Michael Jordan Award. They unveiled the trophy yesterday. It's beautiful. It sits on about a 15-degree angle. It's lovely. I could just see, guys holding it up. Yeah. So good move. Not going to get any arguments. The Michael Jordan Trophy, right? You've also got now the Defensive Player of the Year, instead of being called just the Defensive Player of the Year, or the, Orange Crush Defensive Player of the Year or whatever. It's the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy for Defensive Player of the Year. Okay. A hell of a defensive player. The Rookie of the Year will now be known as the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy. Okay. I think you could have given the scoring trophy to Wilt Chamberlain. The freaking guy averaged 50 points a season. Dominant scorer, but okay. The John Havlicek Trophy will now be given out for Sixth Man of the Year. All right, even though Havlicek led the league in minutes played a couple of times and averaged over 30 minutes a game, the Sixth Man Award, you come off the bench. Okay. All right. The George Mikan Trophy will now be awarded to the most improved player, which is silly because George Mikan was already the greatest player, like when he first stepped on the court. There was no improvement necessary. He was great. So that's kind of a goofy one, but the goofiest of them all, listen to this one, all right? And credit to Keith Olbermann for pointing this out. It's true. The Clutch Player of the Year Award, the NBA will now have. Clutch Player of the Year will be now known as the Jerry West Award, which is ridiculous because he reached the finals 9 times and he won 1 title. So how is he clutch? Where did they come up with this one? Like somebody said, Mr. Clutch. Why? Because he once, I think it was a playoff game, it was a finals game against the Knicks, and he put in like an 80-footer at the buzzer to win 1 game.
Wow.
But during his career, he would hit that winning shot for the Lakers, but not in this context here. Clutch Player of the Year should be a guy that didn't go 1-8 in his NBA Finals career. Anyway. So the new trophy updates are part of this project that the NBA has, this multi-year project, which the NHL's got to get on board with, like similar. Because last year they unveiled this updated Larry O'Brien Championship Trophy along with the new conference championship trophies, right? So you win the Western Conference, man, you win the Oscar Robertson Trophy, named after the great Oscar Robertson of the Cincinnati Royals, who are now the Sacramento Kings. And also the Eastern Conference champion wins the Bob Cousy Trophy, former Boston Celtic great. And the conference finals MVP trophies are now named after Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, right? Western Conference MVP, Magic Johnson Trophy winner. Eastern Conference MVP, Larry Bird Trophy winner. I love this. Love it. In the NHL, you got the Lady Bing, the Art Ross, the Hart Trophy, which I believe was donated by the brother of Cecil Hart, who was a Montreal Canadiens coach who passed away, if I'm not mistaken. But that's what it was. It was donated under the name of Hart, right? Which was lovely. They donated a trophy. The Calder Trophy is named after Frank Calder. He didn't play. He was the first president of the NHL. It's for Rookie of the Year. The Selke Trophy, which was named later back, I think they started that in the 70s, is named after Frank Selke, Senior, the great executive with the Montreal Canadiens, and for a while the Toronto Maple Leafs too. And the Norris Trophy is named after James Norris, one of the owners. He never played. His father had money.
Interesting.
So these should all be renamed after the great players, the ones I mentioned, who, instead of those who donated the trophy. Isn't that great? You donated the trophy. That's lovely. But come on, a Wayne Gretzky trophy, a Gordie Howe trophy, a Bobby Orr trophy. I have no problem with any of those.
Hebsy, I could not agree with you more. These
you could. Yes, you could. You could agree with me a lot more if you want.
Like some of them are named. I think Vezina was a guy, right? George Vezina was a
guy. Yeah, I didn't mention that because George Vezina, the charcuterie cucumber, was a spectacular goalie, and so it goes to the best goalie award.
Yeah, but I was watching the Leaf game, and the panel there, O-Dog and whoever was on that panel was talking about who would you name the Vezina trophy after? Would it be Brodeur, Patrick Roy, and I can't remember who the third guy they put in that mix. Oh,
no, you would leave it as it is.
Right. Like, I don't understand the question because why are we changing that? Go change these others you referenced. Art Ross, Hart, Calder, Selke, Lady Bing, Norris. Those should all be named tomorrow or maybe even later today. I'll see what my schedule is like. Let's get them named.
What about the Conn Smythe? What's your feeling on the Conn Smythe? The Conn Smythe story is he allegedly, now there's no documentation, there's no direct quote, but he allegedly said of Herb Carnegie, the great black hockey player, I will pay someone $10,000 if they can turn Herb Carnegie white. That's the alleged quote. We don't know the context.
Yeah, but the context would probably, I feel like the context is key there.
The context is absolutely key there because did he sit there and go, oh man, if only we could allow blacks into the game? Or was it deeper than that? Was it him going, we're not going to have no blacks in the game, but if you can turn this guy white, man, I'll give you. We don't know, and we don't know the context. And because of that, we can't just assume that, Conn Smythe was a warrior. Conn Smythe was did he have racist overtones? It's quite possible that everybody had racist overtones. Did they express them in a certain way? Was this a direct quote, or was this something that I could hear Conn Smythe saying that for sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of doubt there. So I would say, let's give the man the benefit of the doubt. What happened to the benefit of the doubt?
That's right.
There's a lot of doubt.
The other thing was, I haven't heard much about Dundas and Dundas Street and all the Dundasses that were supposed to be changed. I know Ryerson University, they changed that name, but I haven't heard much about the sort of changing of the name stuff. Kind of a lot of it was like maybe blew over, or if it got through council, maybe they're not in a big hurry to implement all these changes, right?
Big job, Hebsy. That's a lot of stuff named after Dundas. That's a lot of street signs.
Let's go back to the NBA now. The Raptors are in some kind of trouble. I was at the game the other night, the Sacramento game. By the way, I go to the game. I sit down in my seats. I go with my son. I sit down in my seats. And as soon as I sit down, the guy sitting there looks at me and he goes, and he gives me a look that I know the look, Mike. The look is, oh, I know you.
Right.
That's the look. I'm used to it. I've seen you on television. I know you. Okay. He's at a Raptors game. I'm a sportscaster. So I'm expecting watched on TV or something to that effect. But I know that he knows who I am.
Right.
And a little while goes by, that kind of thing. And he goes, he says to me, you're Jake Hebscher's father, right? I go, right. He goes, I work with him at Lexus, Hefner Lexus in Kitchener, where my son works. He goes, I work with him. I go, oh.
That's funny. You're like, oh,
not a word about, sportscaster or watch you. Nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. He might be too young anyway, because he's in his 30s, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
Hey, what is that line? Do you know it at this point? Like if you're under 40, you probably don't remember a sports line.
I never thought of it. I never thought of it. All I know is that as time has gone on, I'm less and less inclined to think that someone is going to recognize me. Right? Which is natural. Less and less, right? Because the younger the generation becomes, the less they're far from. And even if they watched television in those days, who knows? So there is no kind of line of whatever. But I am surprised. I am. And remember, with some people, it's like, well, I don't know where you are, but I watch all your stuff on YouTube. Or I've had people say to me, oh, really? What did you do before YouTube? So you never know. It's pretty funny. Anyways, I'm at the
NBA. Can I say hello to Gene Velitis, who has checked in from Vancouver? And
Gene was watching. He was watching for us at the game the other night.
Right, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah. So because Gene, I want Gene to know my first in-person guest on Toronto Mike in 2022 is going to be Lorraine Segato. So I want.
That's Gene's sister-in-law.
Right.
Yeah. The great Lorraine Segato. Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah, parachute club.
Absolutely. Rise up.
Yeah, that was great stuff, man. Those are good videos. That was fun times. Where was I with the NBA? So yeah, NBA. So we go there. They're playing the Sacramento Kings. And the only person I know that's seen the Sacramento Kings live this year was my son, Dean, who I took to the game because he was on the road like all year in the States doing shows, comedy shows. And he happened to be in Sacramento and they got tickets to the game. It was like an afternoon game. He saw their first win of the year against Miami. And then they played a show that night. So he was like, he had all the lowdown on the Sacramento Kings. He's like, these guys are good. And sure enough, they ended up beating the Raptors. You know, the Raptors don't have OG Anunoby. To a lesser extent, they're missing Precious Achiuwa. They just don't have the size and the strength on the boards and in the paint to compete with a lot of these teams, especially a team like, Sacramento that's got Donnie Sabonis, who's just a monster in the middle. He's just a killer. Second night of a back-to-back. Listen to this. Mike, second night of a back-to-back. They lost to Philly the night before. Sacramento comes in. They got to go through customs, the whole deal like that. This Sabonis plays 40 minutes, 21 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists. They can't handle him. They could not handle this guy in the middle. Chris Boucher, Christian Coloco. Yeah, Thaddeus Young was your starter. Thaddeus Young's like, he's old, man. He's like 34, 35 years old. Even Kem Birch even gave him a try in the middle. They could not stop this team. Could not stop. And they couldn't hit their three-pointers. They're awful in threes. They're like one of the worst teams in the league in three-point percentage. And man, if you live by the three, you die by the three. And Fred VanVleet has just not been the same. And their offense is a half-court offense. Freaking Sacramento, run. Let's go down the court, up and down. The Raptors, they get into this half-court, boom, boom, boom. And Freddie will take the clock down to 5 or whatever, or pass. And they'll score a lot of times, but not enough. You got to be able to go into the paint. If you're not hitting the threes, you got to be able to penetrate. You got to be able to move the ball around. And the Raptors just haven't been showing that. And at the end of the game, you're down by 3. Okay. There's 5 seconds to go. You got the ball at half court. You're down by 3. So Fred VanVleet gets it. There's 4 seconds to go. He misses the 3. And now with 2 seconds, there's still 2 seconds to go. The offensive board is grabbed by Siakam under the basket. You're down by 3. Mike, you've just grabbed an offensive board, right? You're down 3. What do? You just grab that offensive board. The clock is ticking. There's 2 seconds to go. What do? You
need a 3-point play. You need a 3-point shot.
You don't lay the ball up for 2 points, right?
No, you don't.
That's what Siakam did.
Oh, brain fart. Yeah.
I couldn't believe, but I was the only one. Like everyone else was like, and the game was over. Like it was 0.8 and then bam. Right. But nobody, except for me, that I could hear, nobody was going, you fucking idiot, Siakam. What are you doing putting up a 2-pointer? You get the ball back. And where all the other Raptors are. They're outside the 3-point line.
Right.
The 2 does nothing for you. You're in the huddle and the time. Guys, remember, we have to have a 3. It's got to be a 3. Right. If you miss that first 3, get the rebound, get it out for a 3. So Siakam's got the rebound and everybody else is outside the 3-point line waiting for the give it back to it. Kick it out one last try. Right. No, he lays it up for 2 points.
Wow. Huh.
Okay. So tonight you got the Brooklyn Nets. Fuck Brooklyn. And you got Kyrie fucking Irving too. Hey, Zamir. And you got Kevin Durant. You got Ben Simmons. This is trouble. The Nets are surging. The Raptors are not. It's going to be tough. If the Raptors could pull out a win tonight, it would be, I'm going to say, miraculous. I know that's ridiculous to say, but the way this team's been playing, and they're hurting. And by the way, I don't like the NBA and the Raptors the ticket pricing. What do they call that type of ticket pricing? It's not surge pricing, Mike. It's
premium or
no. It's based on the games the teams you're playing. What do they call that? Tiered, the different tiers of pricing. Right. For the Jays, it's like the Yankee games are the most expensive. Well, the same thing in the NBA. They have tiered pricing. So when certain opponents come in, the prices go higher. Like for the Sacramento Kings the other night, the tickets were reasonable. There were, I think, $120 each that we paid. And pretty good seats, first row of the balcony of the 300, like first row. So, and they were reasonable. But I mean, if you're playing like I was gonna get tickets to see Golden State. Thank God I didn't. No Steph Curry. But those tickets are going for like twice as much, right? And when the Lakers came, fucking Laker tickets were ridiculously expensive. You can't have tiered pricing, Mike, unless you can guarantee that the superstars are going to play.
Right.
Like, I feel bad for anyone that went to the Laker game. Expect no LeBron, no AD.
Yeah.
Like, why did I buy the tickets in advance? Like, I can't get
You're
rid
cheering
of them.
for laundry, Hebsy. Isn't that what Seinfeld said? You're cheering for laundry.
Yeah.
You want all the tiers?
But think about that, Mike. They, I'm trying to think. They didn't have it, of course, when we went to go see Kawhi that year. Remember, I told you I had tickets for 6 games. He didn't play in any of them.
Right.
The dude missed 22 games. Now, I don't think the Clippers, I don't know if the Clippers are part of the tiered price. They might be. But if you buy Clippers tickets expecting to see Kawhi Leonard, good fucking luck to you. So they got to change this. It's not worth it.
Well, you know, there's 5 tiers in this dynamic pricing. They've got best value, then they got value, then premium plus, and then super premium. So there's 5 different buckets.
So super premium's got to be what? Lakers for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Celtics. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, but definitely Lakers and Celtics for sure. Yeah. Maybe Golden State Warriors. Like that's the kind.
Yeah, there you go. Golden State. I'm sorry I missed that. Of course, Golden State. I don't know, and obviously the bottom teams are the ones that the Portlands, the Sacramentos, I don't know, Dallas, maybe. Although Jokic or what's his name is pretty good. Anyway, all right. So that's my thing on the pricing. I don't like that at all. Yankees, okay. Aaron Judge isn't playing that day. I wanted to see Aaron Judge, but they've got other good players. But in basketball, especially where, the key guys are, that's why you go. Okay, I go to pay. Am I paying more to see the Edmonton Oilers because of Connor McDavid? No, I'm not, as it happens. Does it work with the Leafs? It must.
Yeah, all tickets are super premium when the Leafs are playing.
No, but you know what I mean? Does the NHL have the same type of tiered pricing for its opponents? Anyway. That's my thing there. Let's talk baseball. Kevin Kiermaier, who killed the Blue Jays for years. How many times did you watch Kevin Kiermaier play? Say, God, I wish he was playing center field for us. Even during the Kevin Pillar era, did we not go, oh, if we could only get Kiermaier? Right, Mike?
They were the 2 best defensive center fielders. He was the other guy. But they
killed us. And except for that one thing where the card slipped out of Alejandro Kirk's wristband at home plate, and he picked it up, and to get their scouting reports. Except for that, the guy is a stud. Okay, a well-liked player by his teammates, by fans, gives it all. But he's 33 years old and he's injury prone. And now he tells us that he's the starting center fielder. That the Blue Jays didn't say anything about a platoon. That he's the guy. It's his job to lose. Now, if that's the case, I'm worried here, Mike. I mean, to me, Kevin Kiermaier is going to make a great 4th outfielder. He's the guy you bring in way better than Bradley Zimmer or Jackie Bradley Jr., but not your everyday starting center fielder. No. Your outfield of Kiermaier, Springer, and Gurriel. No. Not yours. No. You're not filling in the role that was served by Teoscar Hernandez very well if Kiermaier is the guy only. If he plays 110 games in center field, you need somebody else and somebody good. And out of those 110 games, maybe 60 of them are as the emergency or the defensive replacement in late innings, right? But not to start every day. And even then, he's your number 9 hitter, and he's not a very good hitter. And he's hurt all the time. He's coming off hip surgery. So you got to replace Teoscar Hernandez, the power, the ability to play. Not that Teoscar Hernandez was a great outfielder, far from it, but I don't know, an everyday outfielder that's got some power.
Now, Hebsy, the improvement defensively, because that's quite a defensive upgrade. You don't think that compensates for the fact that his bat will be less productive? It's
a defensive upgrade over who, Mike?
Anyone isn't. I mean, again,
but over who? Who was our center fielder last year, Mike?
But it's way better than like putting Springer in center field.
Is it?
Yeah,
you don't think Springer was a very good defensive center fielder?
Not nearly as good as Kiermaier. Like if you
really, I find that very interesting. He made some of the most sensational catches we've ever seen. Springer was a fucking great defensive outfielder, but he was injury prone too, like Kiermaier. So what are you replacing? You're not replacing Springer. That's a big downgrade from Springer.
Right? This is the Tapia replacement, right? Like
no, that's what you want. You want this to be the Tapia replacement. You don't want this to be the Teoscar replacement. Kiermaier is the replacement for Tapia.
Right.
Play some games with a platoon. Anyway,
but every player wants it's their job till they lose it.
Like but they didn't say to him because they don't know if they can find another outfielder.
Well, who's the boss? Right? It's it's Angela. We know who the boss is. Like every player wants to have the job until they lose it. Like this is just the mentality.
Who's he going to lose the job to? That's the question. Who's the other center fielder? They haven't got him yet.
So there's
where
another.
Do you replace Teoscar in the batting order? Where do you replace Teoscar in the batting order?
Is there another move coming before spring?
Fucking right, there better be. And you're probably going to trade one of your catchers to do that. You better anyway. So Chris Bassitt, they fired earlier. Oh, Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt. Anyway, a buddy of mine who's a Mets fan says to me, "Oh, Chris Bassitt, you're gonna fucking fall asleep with Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt takes shakes off the fucking catcher all the time." I'm like, come on, he can't be that bad. So of course as I want to do, I go and I do my research. And I look at Chris Bassitt's starts. Now, this guy goes 6 innings. He's a 6-inning pitcher. He went 8 innings a couple of times, 7 innings, but he's basically a 6-inning pitcher. 30 starts, 180 innings, that type of a thing. And so I'm looking. So last year, 2022, his starts, okay, elapsed time of his starts. Ready? 314, 324, 320, 332, 318, 315, 330, 341, 350, 351. Then he's 255, 258, 239. Okay. Then 302, 3 hours, 337, 305, 310, 316, 318, 322, 328, 309, 314, 236, 309, 331, 321, 306. Do you want me to go through the year before that too?
Keep going.
Mike, unbelievable. 328, 245, 339, 242. 319, 304, 304, 310, 333, 302, 259, 333, 244, 308, 234, 315, 239, 255, 326, 318, 330, 327, 316, 308, 246. Man, it's 3 1/4 per game. It's a lot. Next year, a pitcher has 15 seconds to deliver the pitch with nobody on base. 15. All right. So from the time he gets the ball back from the catcher or the umpire, whatever, the previous pitch, 15 seconds. Now, they say in baseball, they're going to be tight with this. This is tight. You got 15 seconds. Like in tennis, before you serve, the clock is there. It's available to be seen at all times. All right? I don't know if he gets a little in his hat that's with 5 seconds to go. I don't know, whatever. But a pitcher has to know. This guy takes 45 seconds every pitch. Now he's going to do it in 15 seconds. And with runners on base, he gets 20 seconds between pitches. So that's a big adjustment for a guy like this. Big adjustment. I went and rewatched a couple of his games just to watch him. And he's shaking. It's true. He's shaking. No. Sometimes he doesn't even have to shake. He just stands there and stares. Well, because PitchCom is in his helmet going, and he's just staring, and then he waits, and he kind of looks up and whatever. And you can see the batter just sort of standing there like, fuck, let's go already, right? He has to call time. Takes forever. So now if there's a violation, you get dinged with an automatic ball. So we'll see how often that happens. And remember, defensively now, you can't go in that inverted triangle. They're going to stick out there behind second base. You can't defend there as the pitch is being thrown. And if you do, it's a ball against your team, against the pitcher. So let's just see, because it's going to be a different kind of game, man. Yeah, they want to speed this up. And, I'm all for it, too, if you've got a guy like Bassitt out to freaking take forever. Apparently, Buck Martinez is going to be back in the booth, but he's pissed off at Rogers because of what they did to Pat Tabler. Now, you and I both know that Pat Tabler was past his due date, that Pat Tabler didn't really offer that much to the broadcasts anymore. And that, he had a good run of 30 years. How many years did Pat Tabler do Blue Jays baseball?
He goes back to the 90s, right?
Come on, folks. Now, nice guy, likable guy, did his homework. I get that. But, so here's Buck, 73 years old or whatever, just cancer. And I don't like the way he was treated and whatever. And he's still negotiating. He's going to be back, but he's negotiating. And now obviously Rogers is saying, okay, Buck, how many games do you think you can do? Or they're saying, Buck, here's how many games we think you should be doing, because Dan is going to do every home game as play-by-play. And let's say half the road games. Let's just say he does 40 road games. Mm-hmm. So there's 40 other games where maybe Buck's going to do play-by-play of those games. And maybe Joe Siddall's going to be doing the color. What's going to happen with that? Because, I like Joe, but I think he's underused. He's underutilized by just doing the pre and post game on the Jays telecast. And the 5th and the 8th inning, he comes in and says, hello for, 30 seconds or whatever, or points something out, that happened 4 innings earlier. I liked him doing color on the radio, and I think he's perfect. And I'd like to hear Caleb Joseph as well. I'd like to hear other voices. So it was time for Pat to go. That's the way it is in the business. Okay.
I would argue this way, like, unless you worked with the man like a Buck Martinez, right? Or, you knew him personally. I don't think there's a Blue Jays fan other than like, oh, he was here a long time and he was a nice guy, because by all accounts, he's a nice guy. There's no Blue Jay fan upset that Pat Tabler is not going to be calling Jays games this next season. Right?
Right. Now, again, if Buck doesn't do the games, are people going to be upset? Well, it depends who replaces him. Depends who the other voice is.
Right.
When Matt Devlin's doing the games, I'm there. Matt's good at baseball. He knows his shit. He's a good broadcaster, pro. So, part of it is the chemistry for sure. Not as much on television, though. On television, the pictures can tell the story. I don't need somebody saying to me, oh, there it is. I can see that. I need other insight. I need something as the play is being reviewed. I need this. This happened to me once back, in Kansas City. There was a close play and something like that. Somebody that can spin yarns, tell stories. I've been watching the Shaq documentary. It's a series on Crave. Fucking fabulous. It's all storytelling. It's one long story. It's wonderful. I listened to Rex Chapman tell his story, okay, on the Kenny Mayne podcast. Kenny Mayne didn't even say, hey, what's the story? Like, you had drug problems, gambling problems, you were down. He just sort of, it happened organically, like you're talking. It was fantastic. He went on for, I'm telling you, maybe 20 or 25 minutes telling this story. Like my mouth was hanging open. Wow. He's letting it all hang out. This is great. I need to hear stuff like that. I want storytelling. I don't want just the stat, there he is. It's safe. Let's look at it again. I don't need that. I need something else, especially on television.
So next thing, just so recap here. So we have obviously Dan Shulman calling all the games at the Dome. And then you got whatever, let's say there's 40 road games.
Let's just say he said selected games. He wants to take time off too. He's got young kids too now. And anyway.
So that those 40 games, it sounds like as we speak now that Buck Martinez will be calling those 40 road games.
Not necessarily. We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know. Like I said, Matt Devlin maybe does some games. I don't know. Maybe Ben Wagner steps into the television booth and they are grooming someone else on the radio. Oh, the radio broadcasts last year were awful when Ben Wagner had to share the booth with somebody because whoever he was sharing the booth with wasn't a professional broadcaster, was a writer or was one of the Sportsnet people, and they were okay. And I'm not sure if it was Arden and or Ben Nicholson's best, but their voice wasn't interesting or commanding or sing-songy or whatever it was to get my attention. It was too monotone and not an interesting voice to listen to. And as well as I do, Mike, we've discussed this before. There are certain people that write beautifully, that just the words flow beautifully, that when you look at it on the page of a book or on your screen or whatever, it's wonderful. Yeah. And then when you hear that person speak, they don't articulate it verbally anywhere near as well as they do in print.
Right.
And to me, that's disappointing. It is. There are some people that can't write worth of shit, but they can tell you a story and articulate it a certain way that's interesting and entertaining and keeps your rapt attention. And there's others who are like, you're like, I'm sorry, I just cannot listen. And please write me something. Write me something beautiful, but I can't listen.
Now, Craig Miller on your YouTube channel, because we're live every Friday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern on your YouTube channel. If people are listening on the podcast, they should join us. It's interactive. I read the comments. And Craig is wondering aloud about Dan Shulman's son.
Yes, Ben Shulman, his son from his first marriage. Yes.
Just wondering aloud whether it's
Well,
whether he's going to get a tap on the shoulder and come back to Capital City.
I wonder. I don't know who is in the
Yeah.
pool, and I don't know
We're
if
all
they're
speculating
actively.
here.
I don't know if they're actively looking for someone. I know that Ben did a series last year, might have done a couple of series, maybe half a dozen games, where he was doing for when Ben Wagner went on holidays. Because everybody's got to have a holiday. And baseball season is grueling.
Long one. And you and I
know,
agree. Joe Siddall, underutilized, would be wonderful doing color commentary on the Sportsnet broadcasts.
Because we know with Joe that he's gonna, not that the other guys don't tell it like it is, but Joe is there's an authority there, right? Where he explains stuff to you, which I love. I love when they go inside baseball with Joe and he squats down behind the plate, with his suit jacket, on or whatever, and is giving you these tips. This is the stuff that when I first started watching baseball, Tony Kubek would do. He couldn't show you visually, but he would explain to you, this is a one-way lead. Look at the size of that lead. He's not stealing. He wants to measure how far he can get off the base to draw the throw, how far he can get away. That's not a stealing lead. I'm like, oh, so little things like that that stick to you. Go, oh, I learned that from Joe Siddall. I learned that from Tony Kubek. I learned that from so-and-so. That's what I want. That's what I think people are looking for. And I think Joe would be terrific. Does he want to be an everyday color commentator? Well, I would have gone with this pitcher. I would have gone with that. Hey, I kind of like that. I want to hear. I love hearing Tony Romo go before a play. Well, they're going to run a quarterback keeper here to the left side. They're going to pull the guard over here. And then the play happens. Like, I love that. Right. The same way I like to, 2-2, I might go with the slider here. I love that. That's what I want. I want the experts telling me if I'm the quarterback, this is the play I call. If I'm the catcher, this is the pitch I call. Okay. Yankees have signed left-handed pitcher Carlos Rodon for 6 years and $162 million. So the Yankees aren't going away anytime soon. You got to get a better lineup, Jays, if you want to compete with the Yankees. That's all there is to it. And the Giants, the San Francisco Giants, who lost out on Aaron Judge, lost out on like everybody, lost out on Correa, Correa Rondon, the other Carlos they got. Say, oh, we want to get Carlos. He said, oh, okay. Oh, Carlos. Yeah, no, we couldn't sign him. No, not him. This Carlos Correa, 13 years and $350 million. So a good week if your name is Carlos, I guess. But geez, $350 million for 13 years. Wow, man. That's a lot. Mike, have you seen the Montreal Canadiens blue jerseys? They wore them again last night.
I have, yeah. I'll go. Tell me what you think of these things.
I threw up in my mouth when I saw it. Mike, I think I explained that there's a Yiddish word. It's chalushes. It fits perfectly with those jerseys. What an abomination. How could they wear those? Le rouge, blanc, et bleu. No, they look like they look like blueberry colored, like those ones on Shoresy that they wear. They're gross. How could they wear those things? Of all the colors to wear, Montreal Canadiens wearing blue? Like, come on. That's fucking gross. Whoever came up with that idea should be fired. Really terrible. Big controversy this week surrounding the hit that Minnesota's Ryan Reaves put on Detroit's Philip Hronek. You saw this, eh, Mike?
Yes.
Reaves is about 240,
yes.
And he laid him out. He didn't have to do it that way, but he laid him out. And everyone, hey, the guy had his head down. Yeah, I know. But this guy, he left his feet. I looked at it. He actually at the end left his feet. Everybody said it was a clean check. It wasn't. It was a hit to the head. But in the NHL, there's no rule about a hit to the head. There really isn't. Football has cracked down on hits to the head for years, for decades now. Still haven't done enough, but they've done a lot. Hockey, no. Okay, no penalty was called there. The referees huddled. No penalty was called there, but it was a hit to the head. This guy, Reaves, is 6'5" and 240. All right, and I don't care how. You're gonna make contact with the head when you do that. You're going to. If it's the point of your shoulder, whether it was targeted or not. You've seen this before. Well, how do you avoid hitting the player in the head? Well, you don't hit him like that then. You just don't. And not with that type of force. He drove himself right through. right through Hronek, okay? So if this is Hockey Canada, or if this is the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, that would be, if it was deemed to be accidental, would be a 2-minute penalty. If it was deemed to be more than accidental, the referees could give everything up to a match penalty, a major foul for that hit to the head. So it's time that we started to protect players better. And again, it was a clean check under today's NHL rules. It shouldn't be. They need to alter the rule on hits to the head. Now you're going to say to me, oh, well, what if he hit him in the leg, or hit him in the knee like they did to Bobby Orr, and his career is ruined? Yeah, Bobby Orr's career was ruined, okay? But Bobby Orr can, with some pain, yes, walk, but Bobby Orr doesn't have the equivalent of 8 knee operations on his head. He doesn't have the damage that was done to his knee. You can't equate that with what's done to your head.
Right.
You can't. So I think the NHL really has to kind of look at this. You know, Hronek is under concussion protocol. Hopefully he's okay, but geez, Reaves has been suspended 3 times in his career, right? This guy's not a goal scorer. This guy's 35 years old. Big, huge guy. He's played for a lot of teams. We know his job, okay? And that was a thunderous check. But I got to tell you, it reminded me of the check that Greg Manziuk put on Lee Eckley in 1982 in our media hockey game. Lee had his head down in the middle of the ice. Greg probably had, I don't know, 80 pounds on him, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. And he laid him out, man. And it was a clean check, and he didn't hit him in the head. He got him right in the shoulder. Clean check, but jeez.
Wow.
And this wasn't the NHL. This was,
it's a non-checking game, right?
Yeah, I don't remember, Mike. I think there was body contact, but I don't know. See, I don't recall now. It's many, many years ago. Many years ago. I'm going to say it was 1984, 85. And it was a different game, right? But again, wow. They were right. It was that. Anyway, and I'm sorry to mention that about Greg. But I do remember the damage was done. I was like, whoa, man, that was heavy stuff. You could really put the guy away, and we're talking not professional. So I saw that hit. And the first time I saw it, like everyone else, I went, wow, what a hit. And then I thought about, doing the Hebsy Awards all those years and going, whoa, on hits, woohoo. And then seeing some of these guys. You ever heard some of these guys talk now? Some of these players? They have trouble.
Yeah, the cognitive decline is shocking. And it is true. Back in the 90s, we celebrated these punch-ups. And nowadays, when, these same individuals are sitting in a dark room because of the headaches and everything. And I'm not going to mention names.
I'm not going to mention names, Mike. I've run into a lot of ex-players. You're right. They're slow. They're not that they were, super sharp when they played or whatever, but you can tell that these are guys in their 50s now. 60s now.
We've learned so much about brain injuries in the interim.
Yeah.
And before you say that,
hits like that we can't tolerate those hits anymore. And the players have to realize if you hit a guy in the head with your shoulder, I don't care. You're going to pay for it. Your team is going to pay for it too.
You're right. And Canada Kev in the live chat points out that there is some cognitive decline by Bobby Orr because he did endorse Donald Trump. So. That to Canada, Kev.
Football now. The Buffalo Bills host the Miami Dolphins tomorrow night in Orchard Park. Tomorrow night. A night game in Buffalo in December. Bills are a 7-point favorite. They have a 10-3 record. They own home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Don't fuck it up now, Buffalo. A win over Miami would be glorious. Glorious. Dolphins are 7-5, second in the division. Last night, the San Francisco 49ers beat Seattle 21-13. Rookie Brock Purdy threw 2 touchdown passes to George Kittle to lead the way. The Niners lead the NFC West with a 10-4 record. Nice to see. Eagles have the best record in football. The Eagles. Oh, they must be going crazy in Philadelphia. Loving it. Jerry Sullivan, a veteran sports columnist for the Niagara Gazette and WIVB TV and formerly of the Buffalo News, was fired Tuesday after a sexist comment that he made during a guest appearance on a Buffalo sports podcast called Trainwreck Tonight. Okay, that's a podcast. The Gazette called Sullivan's remarks, quote, a revelation of the disrespect he holds for every female athlete, female coach, female journalist, every woman, period. During his podcast appearance, Sullivan responded to a written critique from a listener named Amy with a tirade berating women as, quote, the worst fans.
Wow.
I'm quoting again here from Jerry Sullivan. Hey, women, be better than this, because the worst fans really are the women. They don't get critical journalism. They all want to be cheerleaders. Okay. You know what I mean? It's a dangerous avenue to go down to criticize women in general because they're better than men generally, but they don't get it as fans. End quote. Sullivan later apologized for his words in a tweet, describing them as, quote, insulting to women. No kidding. This I don't get. How do you say something, get caught for saying it, and then I got to apologize for it? Man, if that's what you mean, don't apologize for it. Don't. Go get another gig, get your own podcast.
Right.
But you're working for someone else. Man, you work for someone else, you dumb. Okay? Other people are paying your salary. You're on mainstream media. Okay? You're a contributor to WIVB Channel 4 in Buffalo, and you're a contributor, columnist, or whatever for the Niagara Gazette, whatever fucking fish wrap that is. Okay? Your salary is being paid. Go get your own podcast, get your own sponsors, and go make comments like that. And if you get support for the great, you fucking moron. Dumb. Absolutely, it's a fireable offense, you fuck, especially nowadays.
Well,
you fucking idiot.
You know, ask your brother, Hebsy. He'll tell you everything is a fireable offense if you sever someone fairly.
It's true.
Right?
Nuts.
You
I apologize.
You have experience being fired without the severance fairly.
Yeah, I do. And I can say what I want. And you know what, Mike? There's times where I want to say something. I go, is it worth it? Is it worth it to open up a little can of worms? Is it worth it for someone to go, hey, you're this, you're politically incorrect, and we won't stand it anymore.
But that's different than misogyny.
I've looked at some of the things. I've seen some tapes, old tapes of Hebsy Awards, stuff like that. And I've gone, and like other people, like my girlfriend, for example, will have seen this going, oh my God, you said that? You said that? I went, yeah, I said that in 1986. Oh my God.
Right.
And if you look at it that way, yeah. But if you just look at it on its own, naked, and say, there's Mark Hebsy. Holy fuck. Nowadays, you go, you can't say that. You can't get away with that. Are you out of your mind? You can't do that. Like there's a promo for a record that I guess it was it Ice-T that did Cop Killer?
Yep.
And so he's like, can you imagine if that came out today? Can you imagine? It would be impossible. You could not, in a million years, you could. So it's like that. You could say that then. You can't say that. You can't do anything now. And what worries me is one day somebody's going to call me on it, right? Either it happened years ago or whatever. You hurt my feelings 33 years ago when you said this. I'm going to apologize in advance because there was never any intent to hurt any feelings. And if that was okay in the day and it was pushing the envelope and some people were upset, most people weren't upset, right? You're always going to upset some people. But if everybody was upset, I know if they saw it now, people nowadays would just say, holy fuck, how did you get away with that? Right. I don't look at it that way.
Well, Hebsy, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. So.
Okay. And finally, Mike, the World Cup comes to an end Sunday when France takes on Argentina. Kylian Mbappe versus Lionel Messi. They both play for PSG and France. That's their club teams. Who do you like here?
I think this is the story has been written in his final World Cup match. Lionel, how do you say? I want to say Lionel, but it's not like Lionel Hutz, attorney at law. It's Lionel Messi. Anyways, Messi's going to finally win the World Cup for Argentina and go out a champion.
All right. I picked France as I did from the very beginning, and you know that. They're the defending champions. They have Mbappe. I wonder if they're going to play Benzema. He hasn't played. He has got a thigh injury, and he hasn't played like the last three matches, and they've won. But he's a phenomenal player. And same with Pogba too. I mean, man, and he hasn't played either. He's also hurt. I mean, France has got tremendous talent up there. Be interesting to see who plays. I know they got the world-class goalkeeper Hugo Lloris of Tottenham Hotspur. Ooh. And they've just got an excellent Griezmann's a fantastic player. I mean, Olivier Giroud. I like France. We'll see what happens.
Here's a PSA, because those last couple of matches have been 2 p.m. matches Eastern anyway, and this is actually 10 a.m. So don't miss it. Like thinking at the 2 p.m. final, I think it's a 10 a.m.
It is. It's 10. It's a 10 a.m. And tomorrow is the bronze medal game, I guess you would call it, or the match between Croatia and Morocco.
Which they're both in our group. Remember that.
That's right. The group of death. We were in the group of death. Amazing. Yes. Okay, Mike, feel better. I'm glad you certainly sound better. You sound your
I feel good.
Good to hear. And that'll do it for episode 313 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks as always to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike. You've had some pretty good guests lately. I know Lorraine Sagato's coming up, but who have you had recently?
Oh my goodness, many great guests that I'm drawing a blank as you put me on the spot, but I did have to take a few days off, so I did a special tribute to Mark Daly. That's the most
The Voice.
You'd love it. It's over an hour of clips and just talking about The Voice.
You're enjoying putting these together, aren't you?
Yeah, you know what? I actually think I enjoy my show better when I don't let people come over because I have COVID. Like it's like I'd rather just produce things and but I like both. And
I need you to digitize some cassette tapes that I have.
Oh,
I saw the machine that you have. I have these cassette tapes.
Because Fred Patterson found a box, and I'm going to spend some time over the next 2 weeks digitizing. So get me cassettes, and I'm all set up to run it through.
Okay, great. I'm going to get you some cassettes I need because if not, I have to borrow a cassette player from somebody.
I'm ready.
Put a speaker in front of it, and it's much easier this way. Okay, beautiful. That's good to know. All right, so that's it. We're back with another. I don't know. Are we coming back next week, Mike? Do you want to do a show next Friday?
Oh, 100% up to you.
All right, we're back next Friday. There you go. It's the day before
Friday.
Christmas Eve day. It's Friday. It's a beautiful thing. Have a fantastic week, folks. We're back with another episode next Friday. That'll be it. Until then, so long for now.